So this is Miss Annie. She is a nutritional therapy practitioner, and she has an awesome Instagram page. If you guys want to follow her with amazing information, it's Hashi Mama, right? Or Hashi Mommy?
Yeah.
Hashi Mommy. I absolutely love it. So she has donated her time to us tonight, and I'm so thankful for you to be here. And we are going to kind of learn a little bit about how nutrition plays into hormone health, among other things. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into the health world? You kind of shared with us a little already, but tell me more.
So back in 2011 when I had my first child, but when I had my first child, postpartum, I had everything go wrong you can imagine. And I was really young, so I was not expecting all of the things to go wrong. I had extreme depression, debilitating anxiety. I started having tremors in my body, and I couldn't control it. And I went specialist after specialist, and nobody could tell me. I even had a doctor tell me I should drink more beer because I'm a new mom. Yeah,
Oh,
not
that's
even kidding.
Glad he got a degree.
Yeah, I was in shock because it's like when you get to that point and you're desperate. So I thought something was wrong with me, and I started thinking it was in my head and I was a crazy person. So, took the medications, everything, and just this happened for several years until I had my second in 2014. And I was struggling with weight loss at that time, postpartum, the natural stuff. And so then I had a friend tell me about the 21-day sugar detox. And I was like, I've never heard of that, but I'll try anything at this point to lose weight. And so that book was incredible to me because it taught me so much about just like food in general, and then just how sugar plays a role in so much imbalances in our body. And my husband and I did it together, and we took pictures like before and after, and we were amazed just how we felt, how we looked. And then after that point is when my eyes were opened, and I was like, I have to look into this world more. So then after that point, that was something I incorporated more into my life. But I still struggled with health issues, and I knew that there was something still off. So, I did more research, I read more books. I was really obsessed of just finding answers and just really figuring things out on my own. So then in 2018, I finally found a doctor that listened to me because I did so much researching and finally realized, wow, I've never had a doctor give me a full thyroid panel because I didn't know what that was. Just like you said, I didn't know to ask for that. So I found this doctor that was willing to listen to me, and I was so grateful. And they were like, yeah, you have Hashimoto's, and you probably had this for a while. And it just explained so much of the issues that I was having. So after that point, I just continued to educate myself, and not even for myself only, it was just for my family. I wanted to learn so much to know what to ask and what to do for my kids and my husband. And then that's how I just, I educated myself with, or I got a certification as a nutritional therapy practitioner. And then now I work one-on-one with clients, with women that are struggling with hormone and thyroid issues, and just provide them with customized holistic plans to really look at their life as a whole and figure out and get to the root cause of what is going on, and just starting with food. I just like to start with food.
Well, that's so, food is so powerful, and I feel like, again, that's something that as women, we've almost been made to fear food, and diet culture has created such a, well, I can't be on a diet, or I'm always on a diet. And there's a way to, and I try to preach this all the time, especially working with younger girls or women who've recovered from binge eating disorder or different types of, disordered eating patterns, that you can eat healthy and love food without being on a, quote, diet. It's a lifestyle change, and learning that food can serve you, and food is medicine. That doesn't have to be associated with the word diet or restriction. That's all marketing, that's all propaganda that has made us feel like healthy choices are, quote, restrictive or limiting. And, it's so empowering to have people like you reversing that story, and it's so important. because just because in America we like to talk about the cheeseburger, it doesn't mean that, you know, every cheeseburger is going to kill you for one,
Mm-hmm.
but that we can't be, you know, okay with just having veggies, and if you do eat veggies or vegan or paleo or vegetarian, that you're crazy and you're on a strict diet and, you know, we feel bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is a line, there is a balance.
Yeah.
And, you know, food is medicine. I live by that. So that's awesome. Tell me a little bit about some of your major tips on what can impact hormone resilience and hormone balance, like that you share with your clients.
Yeah. So the first one is, and I think it's like a huge one, is blood sugar regulation. Most people don't understand what blood sugar regulation is and how it affects just your overall health. And this is a huge one that all my clients, I love to just start with this one, because just like you were talking about, when it's not necessarily food, like it can be the stressors in your life. It can be, you know, the toxic exposure. Like, your blood sugar can rise and drop because of those type of things. You know, not eating for a certain amount of time, but there's different things that that impact that. And even with my own husband, I will tell him, because we will check our blood sugar at times, but when he's in a stressful meeting at home, and I can see like his ears get really red, and I'll be like, check your blood sugar, and it's through the roof. And he didn't eat anything. It was just because he was so stressed out in that moment. So I always like to educate my clients on that just, you know, between your stress and when you're, you know, going too long between meals, when you're eating a meal that spikes your blood sugar too. Sometimes we don't even realize, like, oh, this meal that, you know, quote, is healthy is spiking your blood sugar, and you don't realize it. So, you know, and everyone's different. I don't promote like one specific diet for one person and this specific food for this person.
Yeah.
Everyone's different, and it depends on your lifestyle. If you're breastfeeding, if you're a very active person, there's so many different factors that play into that that are really, really important to consider. And this, just that alone has made a difference for a lot of my clients. Just when they track that and start taking their, you know, checking their blood sugar, and just even balanced meals, which is in the packet that I gave you guys, just some ideas of just incorporating a protein, a carb, and a fat. Your body absorbs all those nutrients so much better when they're together, instead of just one at a time. And so that is the number one thing I like to start. I mean, it's hard to say number one, but that is a huge one that I like to start with. The other thing is opening your detox pathways. And what I mean by that is, it's so important we have so many toxins in our body that can recirculate if we're not releasing them somehow. Whether that's through sweating, whether that's through having a bowel movement. I have clients that will go 3-4 days with no bowel movement. And that's an issue, because if you think about it, if you're eating certain things and your body's trying to get rid of it, and that's one of the ways our body gets rid of it, and it just sits inside of you, like, for example, estrogen. Like, if it's not, you know, if it's not excreted, then it just gets, you know, recirculates back into your body, and then we start having issues with estrogen. So it's really important to make sure that those pathways are open by, you know, exercising or sweating, really, like infrared saunas and just simple things like that. And then even with the diet approach or the balanced diet, my clients are able to have bowel movements, and they're amazed. Like, wow, this has been for years that's how they just think that they are, but it doesn't have to be normal.
I had one woman come in, and it was once a week for her.
Wow.
And she had been on the birth control pill forever. And she just was like, I've gone to gastroenterologists, I've done all the scopes, you know, there's nothing wrong with me, but I just can't use the restroom. And, you know, we, you know, do pre-tox, detox, drainage pathways, all that kind of work with her. We did food sensitivity work with her. We did the Dutch test. We checked her genetics, because part of that is like the enzymatic activity with methylation and sulfation for your hormones to work the right way. And now she's going every day, and she's losing weight. And she hasn't really restricted herself in the ways that she had in the past, and she had developed actually binge eating issues because of trying to lose weight and, you know, thinking it was her. It was her inability to control herself around food, when really it was hormonal and gut, you know, and that's just refocusing again. Like, we tend to blame ourselves and carry the burden of our own health as well. And sometimes it's things that we can't control, and it's not as simple as willpower or restriction or being strong enough or being on that diet longer or going to the gym more often. It's a missing piece, the root cause, right? That's their buzzword. Tell me a little bit about, you mentioned my favorite word here, Dutch testing a full thyroid panel.
Yeah, so that's another huge thing I always recommend to all my clients, because it just gives you that, you know, that big picture of what is going on. And especially with like your thyroid and just all your major hormones, when it always makes me so sad, because a lot of women will go through all of this pain and agony and, you know, I was just talking to a lady today that she's like, I have debilitating fatigue. Like, I can't even like my brain doesn't even function. I can't even like think about what I'm going to do.
Yeah, if you're in adrenal fatigue, you will deplete your own minerals naturally. And a lot of people will be like, well, why is my blood work showing I'm dehydrated? I drink 100 ounces of water every single day. I'm like, well, you can be drinking water and still be dehydrated. So, you know, mineral absorption and all these different things. And again, gut health, which is your next ticket on here, 100%. If you don't have good gut health, if you don't have a good microbiome, it doesn't matter what you consume on a daily basis, you're not able to unlock its potential. Bioavailability is what that's called, and it's decreased. That goes for medication as well. A lot of people wonder why, even thyroid medication, for example, why do I have to keep increasing my dose for this to be effective? Yes, that we can become tolerant to certain chemicals where our response doesn't become as effective, but another huge component of that is your microbiome in your gut is responsible for breaking down and utilizing that medication. And if that is defective or depleted, you won't be able to utilize anything that you're consuming as effectively as well. So that's a huge point to kind of look at too. The gut controls everything. And talk to me a little bit about supplementation. What are some like supplementation recommendations, and how do you utilize that in your practice?
Well, to kind of go back real quick to the gut issues, I just want to mention some of the things that like are major with like the gut issues is something that's so helpful is like a stool test.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys are familiar with that.
Absolutely,
like,
yeah, I love
if
it.
they don't know if they have a gut infection or something like that, then you're not absorbing those nutrients, and
Absolutely.
that's huge. But supplementation, that's something last resort type of thing for me, because when you are lacking with a certain like vitamin or mineral or anything of that nature, and especially when you're in this like really fragile state, sometimes that can be very helpful. But of course, it's something you want to address with your doctor. You need to, I mean, there can be major contraindications with medications that you're on, but it can be very helpful in certain situations where you're very depleted and you need that extra help to kind of get you over that hump to, you know, to start healing and feeling better.
I completely agree, and it shouldn't ever be permanent. I don't agree with permanent supplementation. I don't even agree with the probiotic on a regular basis. So, yeah, and a lot of people get that wrong, and they try to self-medicate, and they try to self-treat, and they're like, well, this is good for this, so I'm going to take it. And, you know, there's so many issues with that. I could get on that soapbox all day, but I will spare you all. So, thank you so much. Thank you. That was awesome information. I absolutely love it. I'm so happy to have you in this field sharing this wonderful information and being a resource to this community. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Ann?
What about supplements for like prenatal, postnatal? So like, I don't know.
Like, do I recommend that, or?
Yeah, like I'm sure the answer is still the same of using food as medicine, but
yeah, I mean,
it's
honestly,
like, where do you even start?
yeah, I mean, yes, you start with food, but of course, like with your doctor and stuff, like I always am like, those type of things you want to make sure that you're addressing. And there are really good prenatal vitamins. Like, you don't want to just get a random one, because there's, if you look really closely, unfortunately, like there's some brands that do not have really good quality ingredients in those supplements that you're taking, or for like the prenatals. But I do think it's really important, because you want to make sure that you're getting all those nutrients for yourself and for the baby. But of course, making sure.
That's loaded. I do blood work on my pregnant moms. What you're deficient in, the way your body uses vitamins. We do gut health with our pregnant moms. That's the first step. Being on just a prenatal for the heck of being on a prenatal generally does nothing for you. And 90% of the prenatals that people purchase they're not therapeutic dosages of much of anything. A lot of women actually have methylation issues and get very sick because of the form of folic acid that's in most prenatals. So understanding how your body works and what your body needs will help you understand what your baby needs. Food is very beautiful if you're sourcing it well. Unfortunately, the majority of women, the food that we're consuming on a normal basis has become very depleted in a lot of nutrients and minerals that formerly, if we were back and growing it ourselves with really dense soil that hasn't been just like bleached essentially over the years of mass agriculture and pesticides and beyond, we would be able to get everything that we needed from the food that we were eating. But nowadays that has changed, so we do need to supplement in different conditions, but the right form of professional grade supplements that is correct for your body in the bioavailable versions of themselves that are right for you, that's how you treat supplementation the same as you would treat pharmaceuticals, and they're effective, they're powerful, and they work. Just kind of, especially like, and this is kind of another tangent, but herbs and like herbalism and homeopathic treatments and kind of these different kind of trendy things that have come up, and herbs in any form are taxing on the liver, just like taking medication. They're not recommended for long-term permanent use for that reason. And you need to understand where the supplement companies, just like pharmaceutical companies, are sourcing their ingredients, what's included in their packaging, what is the byproducts, like you're saying, in everything that you're consuming, especially if you're looking at herbs. Where are they grown? What are you actually taking? Just because it says vitamin, just because it says supplement, does not mean it's good for you. And they are taxing on our liver in the same way that medications are if used in excess or incorrectly. And, that is kind of pushed aside because the supplement industry has become a multi-billion-dollar wellness industry. And there's become a lot of social media influencers that have developed spin-off brands, their own protocols, all these different products that, because they are not regulated in the United States, they can pretty much say can contain and do whatever they feel like, and no one is checking them. So working with companies and doctors who invest the time in looking into the third-party independent laboratory testing, understanding the process that these things, where are they actually manufactured, all these different questions is important, because the government doesn't do that for us here. And, if you're taking or ingesting anything, I believe that it's our job to know, especially in the state of pregnancy, of course, what we're consuming, what we're giving to our bodies and our babies. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes?
Are there specific brands that you do recommend? Because I know people are like, don't buy from Amazon, don't buy from Whole Foods, like, they're the same thing. And it's like, do you have a specific brand that you use in case, like, because
I'm not married to a brand at all. I research endlessly and constantly ad nauseum, and depending on the company, the product, the time of year, where their ingredients are sourced, that's what I use. And I use different brands for different types of supplements. And again, I'm constantly updating that. So for example, I used to really like Vital Proteins. Well, Nestle just bought them, so I threw mine in the garbage. So, it's kind of like it's an ongoing battle, because unfortunately, as this wellness supplement industry gets a lot of attention, the big dogs are coming in and absorbing all these companies. So when they absorb the company, they change the ingredients, they change the manufacturing, they change the composition of the products. So it's an endless battle, to be frank.
Yeah.
But it's something it's my job. So that's what I do. But that's why it's important to kind of, ask those questions.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions for that? No? Okay. I went a little bit longer than I wanted to. I'm sorry, guys. You're probably here all night because I love talking about this. All right. Ashley, you're up next. Come on. Thank you so much, Annie.